Welcome! We're glad you're visiting one of our FWC managed shooting ranges. Now, we know that you're really excited, but before you get started, we need to run through a few general rules of the range. And these are just designed to make this a safer and a more enjoyable experience for you. Let's get started. Let's start with the basics. Now, there are 3 primary safety rules recommended by the NRA that you should follow anytime you're handling a firearm. First, always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction, meaning don't point it at anything you don't want to shoot. You have to keep the muzzle or the front end of this gun pointed in a safe direction. On these rifle and pistol ranges, that means downrange. If you're off range, then the safe direction is dictated by common sense and circumstances. The next safety rule is always keep your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Ready to shoot means that your sights are lined up and you're ready for that gun to go off. Remember, until you're ready to shoot, don't touch the trigger. Instead, put your finger outside of the trigger guard alongside the gun. Third rule, always keep your gun unloaded until you're ready to use it. The only place a loaded gun is allowed is on the firing line. When you're entering or exiting the shooting range, your firearm has to be completely unloaded. That means that your action needs to be open in the chamber and your magazine clear of any rounds. If your magazine is detachable, it has to be removed. Then, visually and physically inspect the chamber. Leave the action open and the mechanical safety engaged. Now, with those 3 rules in mind, let's walk through the steps you should follow anytime you pick up a gun. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Keep your finger off the trigger. Engage the mechanical safety if possible. Remove the ammunition source, which is either the magazine or ammunition from the magazine tube. Open the action. Visually and physically inspect the chamber and magazine area, which should be clear of ammunition, and leave the action open with the mechanical safety engaged. In addition to the 3 fundamental safety rules that we covered earlier, you'll need to know some additional safety rules that differ depending on the discipline: rifle, pistol, or shotgun. If you don't see range rules posted, please ask us for a copy. Then carefully review the rules. If you have questions, ask us now. It's easier to clear up any confusion before you start shooting. No matter which range you're using, rifle, pistol, or shotgun, it's critical that you wear eye and ear protection. For children, we recommend earplugs and earmuffs. If you're at the rifle and pistol range, there are certain commands that you need to know and immediately obey. Following commands, which are issued by range officers, are really easy to understand and follow once you crack the code. All right, let's get started. First command, cease fire.
Cease fire, cease fire.
When you hear that command, you must immediately stop shooting. Remove your finger from the trigger and keep the firearm pointed downrange. Pistol shooters should also drop their elbows down to their sides. Wait for further instructions from the range officer. Now, every shooter should be focused on safety. If there's anything that you see that's dangerous or that you're uncomfortable with, you should immediately call cease fire. If the range officer issues the unload command,
unload,
that's your cue to unload your gun. Follow these steps to safely unload your firearm. Make sure your muzzle is pointed downrange when unloading, parallel to the ground and parallel to the sides of the range. Leave your action open with the ejection port or cylinder up. Remove the magazine and place the firearm on the bench with the muzzle pointed downrange. Another command you might hear is show clear. That means you need to show your range officer that your gun is clear of all ammunition.
Show clear. Line is clear.
Line is clear is announced after all firearms have been unloaded and benched or grounded. Remember, the muzzle should be pointed downrange, the action should be open, ejection port or cylinder should be up, and the magazine should be removed.
Go forward, score targets, and paste.
Go forward, score targets, and paste means you can walk beyond the red line to change targets. When going downrange, please stay on the walkways to and from the targets. And remember that access to the backstop and all areas outside of the target lines and walkways is not allowed. While shooters are scoring or changing targets, all others must stay behind the orange line, and no guns are to be handled. When all shooters return and no one is downrange, the range officer will announce,
"The range is clear. You may handle your guns.
When reloading your firearm, remember to keep your firearm pointed directly downrange. You'll also hear the range officer ask, "Is the line ready?"
Is the line ready?
to see if all shooters have their eye and ear protection on and are ready to shoot. If you have a problem, raise your hand and say, "Not ready on target 2 or 5 or whatever lane you're using." Once the range officer observes that everyone is ready for target shooting to begin, he or she will say,
The line is ready. Commence firing.
"Commence firing" means that you may begin shooting. In addition to following all of the range officer commands, there are a few additional requirements to being a responsible shooter. One of those is that all of your rounds are hitting the backstop and staying within the confines of the range. You may only shoot from the firing line at the target in line with your position. It's important that you place the center of your target in line with the muzzle of your gun when your arms are extended. If your target's too low, your bullets might hit the ground. If it's too high, they might hit the baffling and ricochet. And if it's too far left or right of center, they might hit your neighbor's target. And trust me, they're not going to congratulate you for that. Remember that pistol and rifle ranges are designed for sporting firearms and ammunition. We don't allow buckshot, birdshot, tracer, armor-piercing, incendiary ammunition, or 50 BMG. Rapid firing and drawing from a holster are prohibited. In fact, you should allow a minimum of 2 seconds in between each round fired. This just ensures that you've acquired your target before you fire the next round. We also ask that you clean your station when you're done shooting. Please put your trash in garbage cans and spent brass in recycle containers. You may collect your own brass that landed on or behind the firing line, but please don't pick up other shooters' brass or brass that has fallen in front of the firing line. This range also offers the opportunity to shoot at moving targets, which really is just a lot of fun. But before you go out and start busting clays, there are a few general rules we need to talk about. First, as always, you need to keep the barrel of the gun pointed in a safe direction. That's really important. 2, you need to keep your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And 3, you need to keep your gun unloaded with the action open until you are in shooting position. Now, a good way to remember that last rule is that if your feet are moving in any way, you're not in shooting position. So the gun needs to be unloaded, action open. When you get to each shooting station, place your access card in the reader. Before you load a round, though, the following criteria should be met. You should be in the shooting position, the target area should be deemed clear and safe, and your shotgun should be pointing safely towards the target. Only one person is allowed on the shooting position at a time. Everyone else should stay at least 3 feet behind the shooter. When shooting sporting clays, 5-stand, skeet, doubles trap, never load more than 2 shells in your gun at a time, and never load more than 1 shell at a time when you're shooting singles trap. The largest shot size permitted are 7.5s. That means that only 7.5s, 8s, and 9s are allowed. If steel shot is used, only 7s are permitted. It's okay to practice your swing, but make sure you're in the shooting position at a designated station or at a designated practice area. All sporting clay shots must be taken from the shooting position in the station your access card is controlling. Shooting anywhere else, including next to or in front of another station, is not allowed. In addition, you can only shoot the clay targets. That means don't shoot anything else, including the wildlife. All right. Now let's talk about moving from point A to point B on the range. There are some do's and don'ts. When moving from 5-stand, skeet, and trap fields or between stations, please stay on designated sidewalks, walkways, or sporting clay trails. Also, never walk in front of any shooting positions or clay target machines or attempt to retrieve clay targets from the range field. If you're using clay carts or ATVs, please don't drive any faster than a person can jog. A couple of other points. If for any reason your clay target machine needs to be refilled or is not working for any reason, then please let us know. In other words, never attempt to fix, fill, or adjust your clay target machine. That's our job. And when you're done shooting, please throw spent holes and other garbage into the trash cans. That's your job. Let's wrap this all up with a few general safety rules designed to keep your shooting experience safe. First, eye and ear protection are a must when shooting. Another way to protect yourself when shooting or cleaning a firearm is not eating, drinking, smoking, applying makeup, or putting your hands near your mouth or nose. In addition, to minimize exposure to airborne particulate lead or solvent and cleaning product residue, you should wash your hands, face, and clothes after shooting or cleaning a gun. Women who are pregnant, children under 7 years of age, and others who have concerns should talk to their doctor before visiting a shooting range. We strictly prohibit open containers of alcoholic beverages, and that means no shooting under the influence of alcohol, chemical substances, controlled substances. Look, if you witness any problems or safety concerns while you're out there on the range, then you need to let one of our staff know immediately. Okay, let's talk a little bit about range etiquette. Clearly, common sense, courtesy, they go a long ways to making sure you have a fun and safe time out there. So here's some do's and don'ts. Don't touch a firearm for any reason if someone is forward of the firing line. Do walk around someone's equipment instead of over it. Don't leave your equipment where someone else has to walk around it. Don't handle another shooter's gun without their permission. Don't let your ejected cases or holes hit your neighbor. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask, because our staff and other shooters are some of the friendliest people you'll meet, and everybody is willing to lend a hand. So, take a moment, introduce yourself to the shooters next to you, because who knows, they might become your next shooting partner. Remember, we want you to take firearm safety as seriously as we do, so that everyone can enjoy the fun and excitement of target shooting.